Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest with us this morning, Laurieann Gibson.
Good morning, Laurieann.
Dance your dance. 8 steps to unleash your passion and live your dream. Welcome.
Hey, guys. Oh, my God. You guys got my book. How emotionally amazing is that? Oh, my gosh.
Laurieann,
Good morning.
you've been around for a long time. You were OG. How stupid do Zoom interviews feel?
Stupid. I was really upset that I couldn't be there. I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. Just to be 100.
Oh, you could have came.
Completely.
We're starting to have guests finally. So if you would have been in New York area, we would have rather you be in person.
Yeah, me too. This feels very foreign. And because we're all family. And I love you guys so much, it feels really weird. But at the end of the day, very happy to have this moment to promote something that is so incredibly amazing. And look, I can't even express how grateful I am to get this book out, this messaging. It's breadcrumbs to never giving up. That's what I'm calling it.
So why did it take you so long to write this book? It feels like this book should have been in people's hands a long time ago.
I think because ultimately it took a while to understand how to communicate my methodology, and I wanted it to go beyond the artists that I've built. You know, you build superstars, you build big stars, and you hope that their narrative matches your narrative. And sometimes when it doesn't, then you feel frustrated, and then you want to be able to communicate all of you, not just some of you, through the art that you make. So this book is the beginning of me touching every single dream warrior, every single visionary, every entrepreneur, every person who doesn't want to have to feel like they have to be like someone else in order to succeed, the understanding of your passion, driving your choices, driving your dream. And it's supported by situations that I have been through where I have received the revelation in order to help you understand that these 8 steps are something that you can go back to in your fight, you know, against situations that are oppressive or less than perfect for your well-being. So it's really awesome. It took a while to become all that I needed to be.
Yeah, there were so many things about you that I did not know. And you do start off the book just basically talking about your childhood. And you had one teacher who wanted to make you feel like you could never be a ballerina. And thank God you didn't listen to that. And you stress the importance of early education and how teachers really do make such a big difference in your lives, as well as your parents just supporting your dreams. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I really believe that seeds that are planted early, you know, I had a natural ability to fight off something that didn't align itself with my truth and my dream. At a very young age, I was born to dance, I tell people. I had a passion for dance that was not normal. And because of this passion, because of this love, when I met Mr. Christopher, who said my feet were too flat and my back wasn't arched because I was Black, and he said that I would never be a ballerina, there was something inside of me that was warring against that seed taking root inside of me. So I use that so that these kids can really understand when they dare to dream and they come up against somebody that hasn't experience their gift, or you may be the person to change the narrative, to be the new version. You know, everyone's meant for a certain time. So when you carry an original gift, you have to understand how to really repel a seed that could build insecurity versus empower your individualism or your uniqueness.
Ooh,
I was like, Mr. Chris.
Oh, no, go ahead, Larry.
No, I was just like, Mr. Christopher, white man, I don't know what you're talking about, because in my head and in my heart, I'm not only a ballerina, but I'm every type of dance, and I see myself soaring and leaping. And so I held on to that. And then when I saw Alvin Ailey at 12 years old at the O'Keefe Center, I was able to visually connect the feeling of my dream to seeing those powerful Black ballerinas soar on stage.
I want to unpack that a little more, because the subtitle is 8 Steps to Unleash Your Passion and Live Your Dream, right? How does one really live their dream? Because sometimes folks will see a you, or they'll see a Diddy, or anybody who's successful, and they say, that's my dream. That's what I want to do. I want to do what they're doing. But that's not really their dream. They just see it working for someone else. So how do you help someone really live their dream and find their dream?
Well, that's why it's 8 steps. Obviously, like choreography, 8 counts, but it's 8 steps. So once you dare to dream and you define your passion, you know, it can never be compared. So I talk about staying in your yes by step 4, because the comparing is what is causing the confusion. Everyone has their own dream, their own DNA, their own passion. We're all uniquely built. And that's part of why we have to change the narrative, especially in the music industry, especially in the culture. They're always trying to remake something that's already out. And that's so, right. Yes, you can use what I've done as inspiration, but that's why you got to dance your own dance. No 2 people are going to take the same road. Those are just the facts. So, you know, the 8 steps help you identify your passion, identify your uniqueness, and then I help you understand it and secure the confidence to stay in it. Be inspired by others, but define yourself by yourself.
You tell a beautiful story about a woman that you ran into that was in the bathroom working, and she was cleaning and she was giving out paper towels. And you also, just to go along with what you just said, she was really happy with what it was that she was doing. And so I think that's a great description of, you don't have to conform to what other people feel like you should be doing. It doesn't have to be financially, you need to be wealthy to be happy. But you said she was just happy to be helping people, right? So I think that also goes along with what you said.
Yeah, I talk about the capacity that you have, you know, you establish your passion and your dream, and you have the capacity. Everybody's capacity is different. So when I ran into this woman at JFK on my way from a huge job, and, you know, I felt like, oh, am I supposed to feel a certain way? Because she's in the bathroom and she was singing and she was humming and she was cleaning. And I was like, my God, her joy. And he revealed to me that her capacity is just that, right? So your dream and your capacity is in alignment. You're not going to have the capacity to carry something that you don't have the passion to deliver. You know, I'm going to unpack it because I feel like in the culture, there is such a need to compare everybody. And it is just something that drives my book and drives my own passion to really get these young artists and all of our people and our community to understand that no 2 people have to be alike. And that you don't have to do everything everyone's doing on Instagram in order to be successful. And it's just an underrated conversation. Like all my way up, I was constantly ridiculed and laughed at, or a harder road, because I would not succumb to the pressure of being like everybody else or doing what everyone else said I had to do in order to fall in line with the right crew or the cool kids or get the big check.
You think people as a choreographer, you know, sometimes you have to teach people how to dance. Can you teach anybody how to dance? And who probably was the toughest person to teach how to move and dance?
I absolutely think everybody can dance. Dance is pedestrian. Dance is just your own understanding, your own body, your own rhythm, how your spirit moves, understanding how to be fearless with the physicality of your body. Yes, I can teach anyone to dance. Everybody was a challenge. Puff Daddy, Lady Gaga, Nicki Minaj, Katy Perry, everybody has their own challenges, but just like that, everyone has their own unique dance. So I don't really see the challenges. I see what's not there. I see what you can do that no one can do. And then I dig into that and I understand your rhythm. I listen to the record. I understand where you breathe, how you take that breath, when you should move. And that's why I've probably built some of the biggest superstars in the world, because I built them based off of their own magic. So yeah, I can teach anybody to dance.
Last time you were here, you promised you were going to teach me and Charlamagne a routine. We ain't forget about that. This is our 10-year anniversary. So I want next time we see you.
Nah.
You got to teach us a routine.
I'm too old, Laurieann. My knees ain't what they were, 6-7 years ago.
Well, you ain't got to bust it. You ain't got to drop on your knees, bro.
First of all, I want to talk to you about that little old obsession you've been having lately. I need you to change that narrative. Timeless. You keep speaking this, and I'm just not accepting it because you look great. I look amazing. I'm just getting ready to rumble. I just want you to lose that narrative. Listen, I can put some ice on the knees. Like there's a million different choices to make. The problem is when we don't understand our season and we're making choices like we're not in this very, very good season where we don't have to touch our toes and get down as low as we used to.
I like being an OG though. I'm embracing it. I'm 42. I actually love it. I think people have this negative connotation on the word old. I love it.
That's not old.
No, I didn't say it's, listen, well, okay, tomato, right? OG is about wisdom, and that's what's lacking. So I do agree with you, you know, like, you know, you can have all the talent in the world, all of what's going on. I got you, but you don't have the wisdom to make me feel nothing.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? You can digitally download a record. You could do it all, but you can't create an experience. When we open back up, if you are not understanding that people will pay a good price to go to a good show, and you haven't taken the time to dance your dance, get artists developed, understand your why, really be connected to creating an experience, then you're over, right? So wisdom teaches you the how and brings in your why. So yeah, I will never apologize for being this, you know what I mean, right now. So I'm with you. But when you tell me your knees are hurting me and you're old, I can't really relate. You know?
You know, Laurieann, you're a person that found a purpose at an early age. It seems like you knew who you were or wanted to be at an early age. Do you think people who never knew who they were, people who aren't secure in themselves, do you think they can ever get to the point, especially in this era, where they can really be their authentic, original selves?
100%. I have to believe, and that's why I wrote the book, because everyone has the opportunity to arrive at their best life. Step 8, and live their dream. Yes, 100. It is never over. It is never too late. You're designed to arrive at that place where you have a fulfilled life. I think that a lot of the times it's about understanding people around you, and I talk about in step 3, you know, building your team. Unfortunately, sometimes a lot of young kids get like told that they can't, that what's unique about them is not valid. You know, my father, I had a box in the basement that I would dance in and out of, and it was in his man cave. You know, he had like his records and his JBL speakers, and my father's Jamaican, so you already know how his music and his after work sessions meant to him. And there was a huge box in the corner, and I was always like dancing in and out of it. And one day my father was like, listen, man, you have to dash out that box. Like, this box can't stay in my cave, you know? So my mother was like, no, Bishop, leave the picnic, leave her with her box. So apparently one day my father asked me, because my older sister told me recently, Laurieann, what are you doing in that box? And I said, Daddy, I'm birthing myself into the world. And it was later that I understood, when Gaga was in Europe and I was in LA, and she played me Born This Way. And I was like, as soon as I heard the record, you know, I have a certain creative process, and I was like, I got it. We're going to birth a race. We're going to birth a race within a race that cannot hate. And I was obsessed with prosthetics. And I said, and we will use prosthetics to identify this race. And then it went on and it grew. And that's why I put her in the egg, and that big Grammy performance. She was incubating. She was changing her DNA. You know, we didn't want to break the fourth wall. But I'm saying all that to say that little girl dancing in and out of that box, that was the beginning of me understanding that I was a creative visionary. And if my parents had shut that down, I would have felt not as confident about having that childlike imagination and understanding how to tap into it. And today it's about an Instagram, it's about a Google. So it's hard for young kids to work their imagination, work that part of the creativity. And adults and entrepreneurs,
That's right.
It takes that imagination to create a new perspective. So I'm really super passionate about not oppressing that which could be potentially something new that the world needs.
Yes, and it clouds your discernment too.
100%. That's right.
Now you also say there's no Me Too movement back then when you were getting started, and you referenced that there were people who definitely, and fortunately for you, you trusted your instincts, right? You even describe auditioning for Bobby Brown, and you didn't like the way he was even looking at you and that would have been a great gig, but you turned it down. So how prevalent was that? Because we see right now there is a Me Too movement. People are getting called out for things that they've done and their bad behavior. But how many times, like percentage-wise, were those things happening to you where you felt like, okay, this is a really bad situation? And was it ever escalated more than just somebody leering at you? Was it ever something that felt dangerous?
You know what? I mean, the climate, the culture, it was very that. I just, obviously, one, I didn't have like big titties and a big butt back then. So I wasn't really, you know, it was kind of like I was the awkward bird out. But when I was put in those situations, it was incredibly pressuring. And it was all in the culture. You know, backup dancers were supposed to be backup whatever.
What?
And
what's whatever?
Backup bed bunnies, backup pretend girlfriends.
Got you.
Backup snuggle bunnies on the tour bus, whatever. Instinctually like, no, I'm just not understanding my spirit, my passion, the dance. I was like, I thought that shit was enough. You know, it was a constant fight. But again, and there, you know, there was no judgment to the ones that did. There was just, for me, a flag, an indicator that made me feel a certain way. And at the end of the day, it affects the purity in the gift. It affects the passion. When you're a young girl with a dream, those proclivities attach themselves to the way you perform, to the way that you blossom, to the way that you grow, to the way that you become your dream. So ultimately, the fact that I fought it off and the fact that it wasn't the popular decision, and so I got less opportunity, less checks. I got called so many things. She's crazy. She's this, she's that. Nah, nigga, just because I didn't want to do what you wanted me to do, I had to fight through those narratives and overcome the insecurities that were trying to take root. But because I did, I'm able to have the revelation to inspire young girls now. If you feel a certain way, if something goes off in you internally, that is an indicator to walk away. That is an indicator that something is not right. And that decision to put yourself in a position like that isn't going to work for you.
How difficult was it early on coming from Toronto? You know, because I could imagine coming from Toronto, coming to the U.S. And back then, Toronto just seemed like it was so far away as when I was a kid. So How was that coming here and, you know, being a fly girl and getting in the industry coming from that point of view?
And financially having to get that visa and all of that.
Well, I got on a Greyhound bus, and obviously I went to I was illegal for quite a while, and I waitressed at a diner on 9th Avenue and 33rd. I waitressed under the table for a very long time. But again, the dream was so much bigger than the limitations, and I held on to that. But it was hard because I remember the first time being on tour with Mary and Jodeci, and Casey was like, "There's Black people in Toronto?" And I was like, "Yes." Well, what, do you guys sleep in igloos? I was like, no, you know.
Beautiful Black women in Toronto too, by the way. Beautiful.
Then nobody knew about Toronto, and I was laughed at. Like, I was over here before Little X, before, you know what I mean? Before all of that.
Melissa Ford.
Before all that. Before Bieber, before all that, yeah.
Drake, I'm still waiting for Drake to give me a shout out in one of his records. It's so disrespectful, but oh God.
You know, in chapter 4, Stay in Your Yes, you tell the story of auditioning for the Fly Girls and J-Lo getting the part, and then Keenan Ivory Wayans admitted years later that he didn't find you sexy enough. How did that make you feel?
You know, not good. Not good. It's a fight that young women face every day. That's why there's such a need to run to the plastic surgeon and all of these elements to help recreate this image that is constantly being catered to or lifted up. And I just took a long time to understand the sexuality in my dance, right? Because I was a trained dancer. So it never came from a place of seducing the male or understanding what's internally about a sexual experience rather than a dance or something that intentionally wants to move a different part of you rather than just arouse you. So as a dancer, there are different elements to the way you move, you know? And so I wasn't in touch with that particular element at that time. So it was crushing because I was definitely one of the best dancers amongst the crew. And so for me, I couldn't understand, why am I not booking this job? I'm killing this shit. But there was something about the way I was dancing that wasn't as sexually arousing as I needed to be for that particular job at the time.
Yo, I love that answer because, you know, when someone says you aren't sexy enough, you automatically probably would assume it was physical, but you didn't feel like it was physical? You felt like it was just something you weren't doing aesthetically as you were dancing?
Yes, I wasn't in touch with that part of me. I was dancing. I was like making sure my arms were right. You know, I was hitting the move, but I wasn't necessarily allowing that, you know, inner Venus, boom, boom, the titty energy, you know, the internal conversation, the intention to seduce was not on me. I didn't understand how to work that conversation.
Gotcha.
Right? So unfortunately, sometimes when you're young, if you are experienced or exposed to something that is driven by that type of narrative, sometimes you arrive at that conversation prematurely. I was okay when I was ready to understand it, because then it gave me a better sense of self-respect and a better sense of ownership over my gift. And what would be personal between me and a man was definitely different from the sensuality that I needed when I wanted that type of role or intention in my choreography, or the why into the femininity versus, you know, the masculine.
That divine feminine versus sacred masculine. You have to let that divine feminine energy flow.
Look, you're bringing it out in me. Yes. All of that.
How much does personality matter as far as what you do? Because obviously when you're a choreographer, people have to trust you. But I would feel like they spend so much time with you that they also have to like you as a person to want to work with you, because you're a very likable person. So for you, how much does that matter?
It's 100%, just like a producer, just like a songwriter. You know, chemistry is everything. Trust is everything. When you first get with an artist and they believe without a shadow of a doubt, if they don't do this, then they will cease to exist. That's a responsibility that I take so close to my heart, because for a while, you're the only one carrying the vision. You're the only one reminding them, bringing them across that moment of doubt before it actually manifests. So your personality and your ability to pull back and go forward, empower, break in order to remake, you know, be truthful was always the hardest thing, because as artists grow and they get more famous, they don't like the word no. They just want you to be full of yes. I talk about it in the book. The yes-agans are destroying the quality of our entertainers every day. Oh my God. I want to write this. I want to do this. Yes, you're amazing. No, you're whack. And let's go back to the drawing table. And it's okay. Greatness it's a process. So personality is everything. And I've also, as a result of it, been affected by it, because when they do get to the top and they want you to just say yes, and you have to say no, because the art and the effects of the art rely on you being authentically truthful, then it's time for you to move on. Because if you have to become a yes again, you're not going to create greatness. It doesn't work that way.
Well, why do you think the style of dancing that, you know, you do, Diddy used to do, the choreography, why do you think that's not in hip hop, like the way stuff Big Daddy Kane used to do, Kid and Play? Like, why do you feel like that's went away? Rappers don't do that anymore.
I think because it defines mediocrity with greatness. You know, I'll never forget bringing Big down from his cage on the Soul Train Awards and telling him he had to get down to the top of the stage by first things first. I pop up, freak all the honeys, bunnies, Playboy bunnies. And I was like, Big, you gotta get here by here, because the girls gotta come around you and my lighting gotta hit you. And let me tell you something, Big, rehearse that.
Mm-hmm.
Stage to downstage. He was on the Soul Train Awards. All of them nods when I brought him out with Lauryn Hill, like a respect. Fat Joe, Big Pun, Diddy, Snoop, a respect for the stage. We call it the X, we call it the arena, we call it the shoulders of hip hop. Like, you had to be prepared to deliver the lifestyle, the record, the experience. I think that that's work.
Yeah.
These kids don't know how to work. And that's why it's over so quick. But we're coming back because there's so many of them now. It's like water that you have to find the ones that understand how to do the work to deliver an experience. You know, when I first met Young Thug and I was like, oh my God, you're so genius. And we started working together in the beginning and I told him everything, boom, boom, boom. And he put the work in for his show and it popped off, but then it was too much discipline. Mm-hmm. And they gotta find that narrative because we won't find greatness. I think the baby, for me, he's onto it. I hope he holds on to it.
Right.
I'm smelling him a little bit. I love that he has a process that reflects a bad boy artist, the 90s. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? His ability to entertain. But, you know, you got to live a different life. You got to make different choices.
Because you remember when Offset was on stage and he did the choreography with the dances and how dope that looked and everybody got excited? And I remember him saying, I'm going to lean into dancing more. But he didn't.
And Big Sean and A$AP Ferg did that too. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And the reaction they got was great. But guess what? They had to go to rehearsal. They had to remember it.
Yeah.
They had to put in work, which they don't want to do. I mean, I remember one time Nikki was like, Laura, oh my God, you make me work so hard. I was like, yeah, but that's why you were and are and did what you did that way. And you impacted that much. And I think that that's a real conversation. They just don't want to do the work. And what you put in is what you get out. And don't tell me you're the best if you don't want to spend time in the gym before you get in the ring. The two just don't go together.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
How do you love Megan Thee Stallion?
You think it also
right
hurts
now?
that labels don't
Megan
spend as much money or time developing these newer, younger artists? And they don't spend as much money on videos either. People just shoot videos and throw them out.
Yeah, it's definitely all about the numbers. But again, if you are designed to impact, then you have to take a different narrative. You have to understand that the music industry was built on artist development. And so therefore you can't reach those heights without the knowledge of that. And yes, the music industry has changed, but there's still people like myself and companies like myself that believe in developing an artist so they can sustain their dreams and have multiple albums and have a healthy career. I think that this generation really has to understand that, no, they're not putting money into the Black artists. And they never did, but we fought for our integrity. We dominated what we needed to have people enjoy our shows and our experience. Now they're fooling you. They're giving you 2 seconds and you're drinking that Kool-Aid. But what they're saying is there's no value in you as a Black artist because they're definitely still putting the development money into the white artists, right? But you just want to go back and forth and bump into each other on stage instead of having a real process. So the other day I was at SIR working with an artist and I bumped into the 24 Karat kid and he is really magical. So we're in the hall and his managers know me and I'm literally having like a session, about the process of him so he can learn to carry the record, carry the experience and not have insecurities when you go on Jay Leno and where do I look and how do I hold my hand and how do I look in the lens and all those things. And so we're totally magical. And his management's like, oh my God, we need you, Laurieann. We have such I was like, listen, I'm busy, but he's magical. I'm feeling it. And I'm in my moment. And so then the label calls me, right? And I put them in touch with my management and they're like, well, how much is it going to be? Right? And I'm like, Josh, give them the family rate because we have got to change the narrative. So, let's see what they're working with, blah, 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 blah. And obviously, the white person heading up his project. And obviously, they didn't want to invest. And for me, that was just yet another confirmation that I had to get this messaging out to these children. You got to dance your dance. And if you need something and they're investing in you, you have to understand how to ask for what you need. Because once you take that shot, you can't take it again.
It's so wild to me that that's the mindset when people like Andre Harrell, Diddy, Jermaine Dupri, all of these people have laid a blueprint to what it looks like to develop an artist. Like, why would people just let that blueprint go to the wayside?
Because you said it, and obviously Andre, you said it. You said Andre Harrell, you said Diddy, you said Jermaine Dupri. You didn't say Laurieann Gibson. You didn't say the Black creatives that are actually part of the artist development system. Andre was very mental in my career in allowing me at Uptown Records to understand my passion for artist development. Charlie Atkins used to do what I did at Motown Records. Charlie Atkins curated the Temptations, the Four Tops, the Supremes. It was from the studio to the studio. You know, for me, it's about the visual albums. It's about a whole different narrative now that we're in the future. But Andre understood the importance of giving the record, the lifestyle, the culture, the ability to create the platform that would be competitive. With a Mary J. Blige, we could go behind any white pop act. All of our R&B greats were built on artist development. Shout out to Charlie Atkins and his legacy, because I am very passionate about what he built and the excellence of our history as performers. We've lost that. They seem to think this shit is funny.
Yeah. You mentioned Big, and I'm always intrigued by people who met somebody like Big, because Big seems just like a mythical figure to me, right? Like, it's like talking about a Greek god or an Egyptian god or something. Like what kind of impact did he have on you?
He sometimes he always still has an impact on me, but he was Jamaican, and his impact was just that, a phenomenal, incredible artist, lyricist, but the heart of a champion, and understood, like, you understand your tribe. And he was someone that respected the gift in me. I remember the night I sat on his lap when he passed, and he still went back and reflected, and he was like, "Oh my God, did you see that Nas tried to copy our performance, Al?" And that night I didn't have the heart to tell him I choreographed Nas and Lauryn Hill. So it's not that it was the same, but I was the beginning of my brand, Big, you know? But the fact that that performance, it still lived with him weeks later, is who he is. You know, he was full of greatness. His work ethic, he was a master, and he understood opportunity, and he understood how to elevate based on that opportunity. So the conversation was far superior to any conversation you can have sometimes with artists today. It's very frustrating. It's also like being in the room with Michael Jackson, and then you get in the room with some of these young guys and they don't know your history, or they're disrespecting your process just because you're not going to go along and pretend they're great when they're not. But then again, how do you do that, you guys? You were in the room with Michael. You were in the room with Biggie. I've seen it. It's like Phil Jackson. You know what I mean? Phil's allowed to be Phil.
How do you rank your best performance, your best choreographed performance? Because I'm just thinking about, just in history, some of the best dances. And I think about the Biggie. I think about the Nas and Lauryn Hill.
Missy Elliott.
I even think about the Diddy and Busta on MTV. What was your favorite performance and most difficult performance that you've choreographed?
I think, no doubt, a lot of anything Diddy. Jesus, anything Sean Puff Daddy Combs. And then obviously a lot, and Nicki was a tough one, and Gaga was just technically tough. But
what makes it tough? We know Diddy probably just continues to do it over and over. What makes it tough when you say a tough one?
What makes it tough is, in Diddy's case, it's constantly trying to reach a greatness that we all try to reach, but he makes changes down to the last minute, and then expects them to be great. And you're like, look, dude, you keep changing shit, and it's gonna affect the algorithm of the overall picture. And because there's a lot of yes-agans around you, they're telling you that that's a good idea, and I'm telling you that it's not. Pick your poison, right?
Right.
People will listen to the dum-dums who don't know what a lighting rig is, who don't know anything about anything that happens beyond the camera, right? and the television shows and the white people looking at me like I'm crazy. And they're yesing him to death. And I'm like, please don't make this change. And he makes it. And then guess who has to fix it? A natural amount of time. What? I can't let any of y'all know what I had to go through in order to make that shit hot.
It sounds painful.
Right, that sounds painful.
It is painful. It is. Do you remember when we rebooted the Bad Boy reunion and he fell in the hole on the BET Awards?
Yeah.
Okay. I told him 29 times, 29 million times, stay upstage, stay upstage. The hole is going to be open. Kim is preset in the hole. Don't catch the gas train, because there's a way to like really balance your artist out when they hear their voice. And there's kind of a method that I use so the anxiety doesn't catch you, but you balance yourself out and you're totally in the moment. It's like a fighter. You're so in line with what's happening that you're actually being the record. It's beautiful. And so at that time I said, don't do this, secret. Bottom yourself out, hear your voice, take a beat. And of course the hype, he took off, and that hype train was in him, honey. And the kid, before, the guys were like, no, blah, 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 hyping it up. I'm like, leave him alone. He needs to. What happened? Fell in the hole. And thank God Kim was down there with the strong shoulder of a strong Black woman in her pose, scrunched down in the legendary pose. He stepped on her shoulders. She was like, oh! I was like, after he was, all he kept doing was shaking his head, and he's looking at me, and I'm walking towards him, and I'm like, how do I not tell him how freaking pissed I am? And so he comes, and I'm like, he's like, I know. And you want to say, good show. You want to talk to your fighter. You want to tell your champion that it's going to be all right.
Nope. You say, nigga, you got knocked the fuck out. But you got back up.
Yeah, but that's after like years of working with him. So he knew. He already knew, and I already, like, that's the trust that you form after so many years when you go, it's a good thing you popped up in 2 seconds. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, Laurieann Gibson.
Hold on, one more thing. You know, Laurieann, you talk about the pain of letting go is a good pain. Find comfort in knowing that the pain of shedding what doesn't serve your dream is a part of the process of becoming the true you. Explain how the process was for you becoming the true you.
Well, through the disappointment, through the pain, you know, there are so many opportunities, I think, that people had to speak into what I did, had the opportunity to help with the idea to recognize my contributions and things like that. And when that didn't happen, you know, would create a pain of disappointment. And so through that pain, you have to persevere, and there's purpose in the pain. So what it does is it burns up what doesn't serve you, meaning as you continue to press, then the pain produces what you need to carry the dream, to carry the capacity, Charlamagne, to stand alone against what the world says is successful and continue to inspire. To stand alone as a female against certain situations where men are still oppressive and in denial about the power of your gift. It creates the capacity to continue to press. It allows me to not be afraid to be singular with my message and with my call, and with the ability to understand my greatness, and to not be intimidated in any room. So you must persevere through the pain, because what you don't need falls off, and what you need rises out. The strength, the clarity, the precision, the effortlessness, the love, the peace, the joy. So as you're able to fight the fights that you're called to fight, you will elevate and shine and deliver what it is you need to deliver for all of us. You know, the misconception is that it's a singular journey. No, we all need each other. And that's the flyest thing of it all, you know? Oof. And celebrity does not mean you're talented. Fame does not mean you have purpose. So you got to start flushing through who you are, and you have to make that decision early and what you'll be and who you'll support. And ultimately, it all matters and it all makes sense. So the pain is necessary. So hey, you got to endure through it. And I promise you, on the other side is the power of your possibilities.
Woo. Go get that book, Dance Your Dance, 8 Steps to Unleash Your Passion and Live Your Dream by the beautiful Laurieann Gibson. Always a pleasure to see you,
so
talk
much.
to you.
Yes. The book was very inspiring, so thank you so much, Laurieann Gibson. Always a pleasure.
And you
come
owe us some
see us
dance
when you're in the
lessons
city.
next time you're in town. You owe me and Charlamagne some dance lessons.
Guys,
It costs-
100%. Listen, it's just free. It's free because I love you guys. We're family. But listen.
I can't afford you, no
on
way.
I know. That's okay. But on that 10th anniversary, I need a dance routine. I need it streaming. I need a performance. I need right here a challenge. If you guys do not rise to the occasion, record an original. You're giggling.
I'm serious.
No, I'm not. I'm ready.
You
I'm
owe
ready.
it to the culture.
I'm serious.
You owe it to the culture. You owe it to me. We owe it to each other to do something that's never been done. We've got to show them what this is, to be unified and to be creative. So we need that 8 count.
I got you.
I think it's something like the Breakfast Club bop, the Breakfast Club rock. Yeah, we need a
The
show.
Breakfast
There you
Club
go.
bop. Okay. We'll figure it out. You the creative. That's your
right.
lane. Follow your lead.
Got it. Okay, well done. I'll see you guys in rehearsal.
All right,
Love.
Laurieann Gibson. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.